Well, good morning, and welcome to the first Friday mailbag. In today's reading, we have King David being visited by Nathan the prophet, the same Nathan with whom Zadok the priest would anoint Solomon king in that famous coronation anthem later. The same Solomon to whom is alluded in this passage when Nathan says, "Your line will last forever and will rule over the kingdom. But I have a job for you, and for that seed, which is to build a house for me, for the Ark of the Covenant." We're going to enter this by title, as my old professor Fred Shriver used to say when he didn't have time to go into something. He would say something like, "The English Reformation, enter it by title." We'd be examined on it, expected to read it, but he wasn't going to talk about it. Click on it, read up on it. I invite you to. I also offer something we're trying new today, a visual and oral meditation with a lovely hymn to the tune Rend, Only Begotten, Son of God Eternal, which talks about the temple. It was this hymn that we used to march into graduation, into the temple, into the chapel at General Seminary on Chelsea Square. I've given you some images to guide your listening to this hymn, and I've listed the words of the hymn at the bottom of the message. But now to the mailbag. I'll start with the easy ones. It was asked, why do we go to Paros every year, and how did we start coming here? This was asked by Perry Brown in Litchfield, Connecticut, whose idea the whole mailbag was. We came here because my wife is half Greek, almost by accident. It was a simple ferry ride from Athens. We were in Paris attending to the death of her mother, and we needed a break. And so we got on a plane, came to Athens, got on a ferry, came to Paros for Pentecost one week 21 years ago. And we fell in love with it. And that love has deepened as I've come to feel a part of this place. I realize that I've spent 20 months worshiping in the Greek Orthodox Church. I realize that we worship in a church that was built by the Empress Helena, mother of the Emperor Constantine. I realize that St. Paul plied these waters, spreading the gospel to the Gentiles. I realize that Odysseus swam in these waters in his literal eponymous Odyssey. I realize that Apollo, when I rise each morning for matins, is the one pulling the sun on his chariot out of the sea. And everything in my life, from Latin in 6th grade to Greek in the 6th form and seminary to seminary, and everything seems to make sense here each July. That's why I'm here, and this is a joyful, restful, and contemplative time. And it's the time when I come up with ideas for the year. And this year is a special year for that, as we're starting something new. So thank you, Perry, for asking that question. And from, from Laurel in Florida, we have this question. Ian, I watched your devotion this week about David. I've always loved the scripture in 1 Samuel where David knew he could not use another man's armor to fight his battles. He knew that he had tested his own gifts many times and knew that all he needed was what God had already given him, his sling and stones. As he approached the giant, in his heart were the words, "For the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hand." Laurel then continues, wouldn't we have more victories if we remembered this? Her question is, wouldn't we have more victories if we remembered this? I say, as a good attorney, asked and answered. This is one of those wonderful questions where the answer is buried in it. Yes, we have everything we need already given to us by God. David had his slings and his stones as he approached the giant, and that's all he needed. We have everything we needed. And yes, Laurel, if we realized that, we'd have more victories. Why? I hear you ask. Why? Because we'd stop wasting our time looking for better weapons. We'd stop trying to fit into a larger man's armor. We would stop trying to find things that we don't have because we don't need them. For the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hand. Why? God has already given you what you need. And a second question comes from someone in Lenox Hill, Manhattan. The question asked is this: if God is really in control of stuff in this world, why do bad things happen to good people, and conversely, why do good things happen to bad people, or so it often seems? Well, I want to take that question apart. And first I want to say, for our first mailbag, thanks for the varsity question. It's like the rhetorician who goes straight to Hitler. We're going straight to varsity athletics here. This is the ultimate question, isn't it? And so let's just start where we mean to finish and tackle it. If God is really in control of stuff in this world, well, I'm going to stop right there and ask us, what do we mean by control? If by control we mean, is God a marionetteer, someone who's pulling the strings and raising the arm of the puppet and lowering the foot? Then no, God is not in control of this world. I do not believe that God is a marionetteer, and neither do you. That wouldn't be a free world. We wouldn't want to live in it, and we don't live in it. So in what way is God in control of stuff in this world? God is spiritually in each of us who is born into Christ anew in baptism. We are spiritually reborn into Christ. How do we tap into that? How does God reach us? Well, we listen for that still small voice, as Scripture tells us. And sometimes we hear it. If our spirit is aligned with God's spirit, we know what's right. We know what God's will is, and we do it. If, however, we are inhibited by our sin, we are separated from God, we are unable to hear what he has to say, or worse, we're in touch with bad spirits of this world, and we hear a message which is unholy, sometimes even in the name of God, we commit bad acts. And as we are God's hands and his feet, his voice and his strength on earth. There are times that in the name of God, we commit inhumanity, and you can point to those times yourself. I believe that in the eyes of the combatants, God has been on the side, every side of every war that has ever been, from the perspective of those fighting them. So in that way, how do bad things happen to good people? It's when good people have a bad spirit, get the wrong message, and commit bad acts in the name of a good God. That's not the final answer. That's not a complete answer, but that's the beginning of an answer. And if it raises more questions, put them in the mailbag and we'll tackle it again. The Anglican Fellowship in Manhattan isn't a place where we give easy answers to easy questions. It's a place where we begin to ask difficult questions. We begin to find answers to them together. Keep the questions coming. I look forward to wrestling with them with you, and we may even do some tag team work in the weeks to come. More on that anon. May this day be a blessing to you, and may God, through you, be a blessing to many this day.